order the Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Monday, February 5th, 2024. And the first committee is Finance. Mr. Mutabaran.
Thank you, Madam President. Call to order Finance Committee. And the first item is an intergovernmental cooperation agreement. Chief Rubel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're looking to enter into agreement with the Schenectady County Probation Department to accept $40,000 of their gift grant funding to add it to our gift grant funding to be used towards our anti-violence coordinator that we have working for us currently. It's the amount of $40,000.
No matching?
No, this match and these funds were actually included in my original budget request for revenue when I put it together originally. So this would round out the total revenue.
Any questions? May I have a motion? Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item is the grant award, Better Cities for Pets. Chief?
Yes, this is an award from Mars Pet Care and Civic Design Center in the amount of $20,000 with an additional $2,000 available for consulting support. These would go towards create the program, the Schenectady Pets Are Family 2 Assistance Program for residents within the city. If anyone has any specific questions on the program itself, I wrote Lieutenant Dalton who drafted up the program.
If you don't mind, just give us an update last year previously.
So the grant, we became a Better Cities for Pets City certified last year. Mayor McCarthy asked me to look into a grant opportunity for this grant that was going to be awarded. There's just a certain number of cities in the United States that are going to get it. So I looked at past programs and some needs of the city and people in our community and came up with this program. Submitted it with the help of Michelle Davis and my ACO, Elizabeth Book. And we came up with this program. We were selected to win the grant. And its aim of the grant is to establish the program which will help indigent people or people experiencing crisis with pets, help them keep their pets. So if somebody has a house fire and they don't have food, they need medical issues with the animal, they need help with crates and supplies and stuff like this. This gives an avenue for us to help them out. There's also there's also some other help in here that wasn't previously available through the city code for help with dog licensing, rabies vaccinations, vet costs, and other housing and housing supply issues. So basically this gives us a way to help people in crisis with their animals.
This is primarily for city residents.
This is only for city residents.
Any other questions?
Does this apply to dogs, cats?
Don't get recognized.
Let me get
Brian, you're good.
Go ahead.
I recognize.
That's all right. We'll beat you.
Does this apply to dogs, cats, and there are other animals that need to be licensed with the city? Does that matter?
We only license dogs.
So that wouldn't matter if their pets are...
We'll just send it into the clerk's office so they can get licensed the next year.
And for the purpose of licensing, it only would apply to dogs, but for the medical food, housing, and supplies, it doesn't matter what the pet is, we'll be able to help with that.
So was there some conversation, it's sort of like what's going along with what Mr. Mancini said, about at least registering other animals so in case there's an emergency, a fire or something, they know that the animal's there? Is that going to be a part of it or something that you plan on doing?
No, that's not part of this program.
Not at all. But, okay, I thought that was something that we were talking about.
Madam President,
yes.
We are doing that as a part of a discussion with the local company in terms of upgrading our licensing process and automating it, allow better record keeping with that. And while it's primarily focusing on dogs, the option would be there is what we're exploring. That'll come back to the city council for final decision. But the option would be for an individual family to register a pet so that if there was a fire or some other event there, that a responder would know that there's cats, some other animal in the building and could act accordingly. But it wouldn't be licensing, but it would just be, again, a registry.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, I should specify, this isn't only for people who have a problem with a fire. It's for any crisis situation, so it could be domestic violence, it could be homelessness that is being experienced, or addiction issues where somebody needs to, they lose their house because of that, or they have to go to rehab or something like that. There's a variety of circumstances people could apply for.
And is this a yearly grant, so we have to apply for a yearly, and if we run out of funds?
I believe this is a 2-year grant, and we have to recertify with Better Cities every 2 years.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank you and Animal Control Officer Liz and Michelle Davis for working on this grant and getting it.
The mayor helped out a little bit.
And Mayor Gary McCarthy.
I'd like to thank Garrett McCarthy.
As we all know, our pets become part of our family and our life, and especially when you're in crisis, you definitely want to keep them with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Dalton put it together. We're the only city in New York State that has this designation from Mars, and so that they're looking forward to working with us not only through this grant, but the licensing program, and some are just general interaction to make the community more pet friendly.
Thank you.
Is there a timeline to hold these pets?
I'm sorry, can I hear
A
you?
timeline.
timeline?
To hold these pets,
To hold them?
If somebody gets in crisis, how
yeah.
long?
Crisis, how long will you hold?
It's going to depend on every circumstance because we can't predict the actual needs. There would be a timeline where what would apply to if they're housed at Mohawk Hudson, which would be $120 in shelter assistance for Mohawk Hudson, which would be 3 days.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I have a motion to move this forward. Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the 2024 capital budget reappropriation, data center upgrade. Mr. Ferrari.
Council President, Council Mayor, the 2024 capital budget, part of it that was passed included $200,000 for IT equipment and servers. What we were told by the IT department is that there's a definite and early need to get these servers, the storage units, and upgrades of the network switches as early as possible. Now, as we go through the process of getting the capital project going, we would not receive the money until May of 2024, whereas we'd like to put in the invoices and start purchasing this equipment now so that we have it in a timely manner. This is something that we've done in the past, mostly with the garbage trucks, where what we like to do is use the money from our fund balance up until we receive our loan money from the band or bond that we're about to take. Once we receive that money in May, we will reimburse the fund balance in that amount to make it even. So what we're looking to do is move in, start allocating the money as soon as possible so we can start the purchase of the storage units, the recovery upgrades, and the servers and the switches.
Question? Any questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion? Second?
Thank you very
All in
much.
favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, and IT thanks you too.
The next item is a call for a public hearing, the Central Park Sidewalk Improvement Project. Just an update, last Monday we had a wonderful meeting with several of the homeowners on Central Parkway, and they pretty much gave us an okay to move forward with the sidewalk project, something that's been many years in the waiting for, and it's finally going to happen. So I'm going to ask Mr. Walling just to give us a brief update, if you don't mind, of the project and the path forward.
Hello. So as many of you are aware, because a lot of you were in attendance, we had a public meeting for Central Parkway for sidewalks a Monday ago. And the outcome of that meeting was that the residents of the street unanimously, or the residents who were in attendance unanimously supported the idea of maintaining the character of the street as it is and leaving the street essentially how it is constructed today, which is with no parking on the roadway. that was explained that to accommodate parking on the roadway, to code, to make the lanes wider, we would be losing a majority of the mature trees within the envelope of the roadway, and this was deemed not acceptable to those in attendance. So what we will be doing is, I have some information. We revised our typical sections and the concept, and we will be making that available as materials for the public hearing. And we will see, I think we will also be mailing out that to all of the residents on the street, so that they, even those who weren't in attendance, can see what is being proposed for the roadway. And then hopefully, if there are any objections or support, they will come to the public hearing. And then from that point, from the public hearing on, we'll take that as a notice to proceed with the design, and then move forward with the design of the project. The schedule that I roughly gave was that it'll take us probably a month to do the design of it, since it's going to be a little simpler with it being inside of the roadway that's existing. And then we're looking to bid it in April with construction in the summer.
And go ahead, please.
Definitely thank you for putting on the event, Mr. Rivera, as well. I was asking with the mailers that we're going to go out to the households, do we certify mail just because I want to ensure, how do we confirm receipt?
Okay, we could certify mail, yes.
We'll do mailing also, we'll do hand deliver. Because the organizer who is guiding us along this, they will also be integral in helping us to make sure everybody has a copy of the new version that we're moving forward.
And I'm sorry, you said construction begins when?
Probably in the summer, I would say sometime probably in August.
Okay, thank you.
I'd estimate it to be like 3 months out. 3 months out.
To complete the job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 60 days you will see the majority of the work, but 90 would be a good window, so we want to make sure that it's done this year. But if we can get it out in April, that should give us a big enough time frame. And like I explained at the meeting, the project is fairly straightforward. The thing that we're just going to have to research is work with John on. We are going to look to upgrade the lighting on the roadway. There was a desire for that, so we're going to look at the decorative light poles and where a meter would go, things like that.
Yeah, and I think that came up with the discussion, is to make sure that we are following your timeline, sorry, to make sure that we have called for the public hearing and not in any way impede your movement.
Yeah, no, this is as expedited as you can have it. Call for public hearing the week after the meeting. Can't get faster than that, so it's good.
Any other questions, comments? All right.
I just want to say that it was nice to attend that, and I just think anytime we're providing the citizens with an opportunity to really weigh in on, what the neighborhood is going to look like, I think this is a clear win for that. So thank you for your work, and thank you, Mr. Motivarian, for that as well.
Thank everyone for participating and help us along the way. It's not one or two person who's pushing, it's all of us. So may I have a motion to move forward, calling for public hearing? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 236 Agreement. Garage. So it's over to you, just can give us a brief of this agreement. Summarize. Is this?
Executive session? It's contract, right? Isn't it a contract?
These have, yes, sorry. These have to do with contracts. So
These are,
we should take these into executive session.
you could if you have specific issues, if council has specific questions, I can answer them, or want to go into executive session. I believe you've been provided the terms and conditions.
We should do an executive session?
Yeah. Yeah, because please.
Okay. So for the three item 5, 6, and 7, we'll go move those into executive session. And then we'll move to the next item, number 8, Bevis Hill Property Lease Agreement, Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you. So I'm bringing this forward. The city owns a property which it rents out on Bevis Hill, and it's where the municipal water reservoir is run from, and so it's on Balltown Road in Skeena. I've provided all of you with the last agreement, which was in 2015, and we haven't raised the rent from $500 since 2015. So, since revenue was like going to be top of our list this year, I brought this forward so we can really consider increasing this rent. $500 for rent is not even close to in line with what people are paying today, almost anyway. So I'm bringing this forward so we can have a discussion around increasing that rent after 9 years. Probably something that should have been done yearly, but it wasn't. So I think we should take into consideration what the rents are these days, and they're anywhere between $1,100 and $1,500. So I think we should, as a council, consider increasing the rent on this property.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I guess I'd want to know, how much you wanted to increase it by, but also I'm thinking that we probably have some sort of agreement with the employee that is in the home, so we have to figure that out into the context of it as well, in terms of that person's salary, or it probably has been a benefit of the job. So I mean, to change it would affect that as well. So.
I'm not sure if it's a benefit of the job. I do know that we also pay the National Grid, so that's part of it as well. So it's just flat $500 is all that the individual is paying. So if we need to take a look at their contract as in terms of an employee, we certainly can do that. But definitely after 9 years, $500 in 2024 is a quite reasonable rent.
Go ahead, please.
And then to your point, Ms. Patrick, I don't think we need to reset the market with regards to like raising the rent, but definitely I can see Ms. Porterfield's point of having rents at that threshold for a considerable amount of time. Truly, renting is an issue throughout the city, so I definitely think we are beyond the timeline to just reevaluate. And again, I do not think we need to increase it a substantial amount, but definitely I think it is beyond the point of consideration to at least increase it somewhat.
Go ahead. You have your hand.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to, I think I spoke on this before, that I've lived lots of places where room and board or housing is a benefit and a consideration of the job that was held. I'd like to know if there's anything in the contract for this individual who resides here. And if there's not, I would like to put something maybe into the contract. I don't know how we would do that, stating that this would be a benefit and of the position that this is.
Yes, Madam.
Go ahead, please. Sorry, I was going to ask in here.
No, I was just wondering, and this is probably a point of clarity for me as well, if we're talking about a particular individual, an employee, and the benefits, isn't that something that we should be discussing in executive session or not?
I think we should, because it's going to get deeper as we discuss here in public about a specific employee. So I'm suggesting that we take it into executive session.
Okay, absolutely.
And we can ask the mayor for more updates on the individual, and if there's any person an agreement
In their contract.
in the contract.
Is this part of the contract, Mayor?
With this person?
I'm not sure what contract you're asking about.
There are council members who seem to think that as part of this employee's employment, this is part of what they're guaranteed.
There's substantial other activities that the employee does that have not been narrated as part of the discussion tonight that would reflect the overall value of that arrangement.
Well, I think we should hear that.
Yes.
But 9 years is a significant amount of time, and over those 9 years, we have increased the individual salary. So it's not like we're not increasing their salary, but we're trying to increase their rent. So I think it's a worthwhile conversation.
So we'll move this into executive session, Finance Committee. We'll have 4 items for the executive session. Seeing no other item, we have a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Government ops.
Okay, I'd like to call to order government ops. So, we have 4 agenda items. The first agenda is MWVE project updates, contract compliance, and that's Mr. Motiveri.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick update. This is something that we have been doing for some time. We drafted for a year or two, and now we're going to ask our affirmative action officer to give us an update of where we are in terms of project compliance, in terms of MWBE, and what is our goal and our aims and objectives in terms of achieving the MWBE requirement. So I'll ask you to just give us a brief update.
Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, just in summary, just in a brief update, 23 has been a rather challenging year when it comes to just doing business and anything in general. But in terms of our MWBE compliance, our goals is basically 30%, unless we're overridden by a state agency or federal agency. 15% for minority and 15% for women. During 23, we had 15 projects that we were monitoring and tracking, and our overall goals on those that we reached was 18.9% for the WM and WBE combined, and then for the MBE by itself was 5%. So we got a ways to go. Our program itself is good, but it's time for enhancement and moving forward and bringing in some things and tools to make it work. So there's a lot there. So that's pretty much where we are. We're pretty much in line with most agencies around the region. Anything pretty much out of New York City, we're pretty much in that ballpark in terms of where they are. So we've had a lot to do there. Also, because of the funding that we have, we've been focusing on the Section 3 component as well, and we've had a lot of good success in terms of the lead program and getting Section 3 contractors involved. And we're fortunate in that regard because all of the contractors that participate in that program are Section 3, and all of the workers, with the exception of 2 workers, are Section 3 residents. So we have a good response and a good, robust program there. But again, we have an issue with capacity, getting more firms out here to participate and build up the capacity and things along those lines. So that's where we're focusing on to try to make that happen.
Any questions, concerns?
Yeah, so I have 2 questions actually. Compared to our past years, he said, are we seeing any improvement, first and foremost?
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, there's definitely improvement. There's definitely momentum to move the bar in the direction where it needs to be going. But there's 2 things that we have to do here. One is we have to encourage and entice more people to bid on opportunities, and we have to encourage and entice the prime contractors to be more outgoing in terms of reaching out and making that happen. Now, in terms of what the law requires and the good faith efforts and all that stuff, they're there. But there's room to be made where we can really make a significant difference by one, building the capacity of the firms that we're trying to bring on board, bringing more companies into the fold, and introducing opportunities. And the third thing that this body can do, I think, is when you look at things specifically to the street paving program. Now that's historically been on the low side, 3%, 2%, or whatever, but it's historically there because it's very limited in scope. And historically, the programs are put out in one big contract. So for example, you got the paving, the sidewalks, and all that stuff that goes together. So you got one contractor that gets that. So you limit the pool of firms that can participate in that space. So one thing that could be considered is maybe on a project like that is breaking the scopes down. In other words, debundling some of these things so that you can have more of an opportunity for some of the smaller firms to compete with. And what I mean by that specifically is, do we have to have the sidewalks and the pavement, everything all in one? Can we break out the sidewalks as something, or can we, can we do something more creative so that you can debundle these pieces so that folks can have a little bit more opportunity to participate in that space.
So I imagine that the reason why we bundle it might be maybe some cost savings or something like that, but you're saying that by kind of debundling that, if you will, it'll give more our minority and women-owned businesses who might not have the capacity of the larger scale, but where they can be more competitive.
They would have an opportunity, yes.
Okay, thank you. Carl, you know.
That's for the second question.
I don't know. Oh, well, my other question.
I'm sorry.
He actually answered my other question, so.
So my question was going to be, I don't know if it's appropriate, I know Chris was here, Mr. Wallen. How realistic is it, and I guess that question is for the council, to debundle it? I know you're basically highlighting some cost savings. Is there a specific reason? Could we get a follow-up from Mr. Wallen afterwards? Because if it is an option, using that as an example, it's very much something that we're going to be addressing in the coming months. I think we should position ourselves to be able to open up those opportunities for some of our NWDs, as you're suggesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that makes that particularly merit at this particular juncture, we've been working with the Empire State Development, technical assistance, and we've been doing this to build the pool of firms out here and capacity. So part of our technical assistance realm is we're helping firms prepare for, they can have access to bonding, which is a requirement, and also the access to capital. But the technical assistance component goes in there. You have to, build them up to that level. In other words, the state, they have, funding out there to support these types of programs, and our street program is certainly part of that. But they have to be prepared, for this. So you got to build them up, to that level. So some of the things that we've been doing in our program has been the technical assistance piece in terms of bringing firms to, to the table, building them up, helping the businesses get started, doing workshops in terms of bidding, going after projects, how to build a relationship. We spend a lot of time trying to introduce firms to, like the Callahans of the world, the Carvers of the world, the Empires of the world. So it can be done. But it has to convince, the companies, to do it. And I'll give you a specific example of why this is relevant to us. So a couple of years ago, Empire, they won the paving project. And we were able to get a single person hired by them to introduce them to the construction industry, the same concept that we talk about doing. So we got him in there, and now he's been in there for 4 years or whatever, but he's gradually moved forward with the education process, technical assistance through what we've been doing with this, Hudson Valley Community College, for example. We have another program that we work with the county offering people CDL driver's licenses. So he got his CDL license last year. He's continuing to work with Empire today. Now this year he just got his Class A CDL license. And now he's in a position to purchase one of our homes here in the city. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of what we can do to plant the seed, to move forward, in this arena.
Just to add to that, with your question, we have a MWB policy in place that we adopted about 2 years ago.
Right.
And I think it's coming up this year for review back.
Right.
So that's something we have bundled into the policy. So we can, when we revisit the policy, we can able to extract that separated if the council so chooses to do that.
Thank you, Mr.
So thank you for this document. I look forward to reading it, following the meeting. But just a couple of questions, just in a quick review here. But in terms of these various training programs, for example, like the janitorial and cleaning program, construction management, et cetera, how many folks do we have currently? Are those programs running now?
Yeah,
and how many students do we have?
Okay, so with the janitorial program, that's something that just started this year. So that was a unique opportunity that came about because of when you talk about this public-private partnership. So we work with the City Mission in Mike, as well as Alton, New York, as the private sector. So an opportunity come to take an opportunity to get people into the cleaning business. So that was the focus. So we identified 3 firms here locally, MWBE and Section 3 companies, to come in and participate in this. So out of that, you had 3 companies that had an opportunity to work in this, in this space. And then to date, we have 12 people that have been hired to work. So they're over here on 500 State Street, and then there's another one that's up in the process. So there's 12 people just in that space there. And on this professional skills side, this year we've done 3 cohorts. I think we had like 84 people apply. They went through the process. Then we had 53, 54 that was actually enrolled, and I think 33 completed the program. So this is an opportunity. Again, these folks are working here locally. Some are working like up at the Elm School. We got 2 of them up there. You have 1 or 2 out of some of the older cohorts that went on to start their own, little companies. And so again, we're trying to help them and assist them any way we can in terms of building capacity, access to bonding, and just being an advocate for them. So I see my primary role as more like an advocate for the small business person that's trying to get on, and also the worker that's trying to create the jobs. And that's really where it is. And if we're serious about really trying to make a difference, it's one thing to say, okay, we had opportunities and you got 30%, you got to go out there and get it, but if you don't give them the tools and the support to get there, and then it really doesn't happen, or it's very, very short-lived, or people are very, very disappointed. And we have to really get the message out there and be honest. We try to have like honest conversations with folks, because I get it all the time about, I didn't see nobody working on this project, I don't see nobody working on that, and they're up straight because they didn't get it. And but yeah, I try to tell them, I was trained like it's a game of numbers, like it's 15, 3, and 1. So for every opportunity, you got to be going after 15, 3 makes sense, and you'll get them. But if you just going after just that one thing, that one time, then you don't get it, and then everybody is at the enemy. We out here every day trying to create opportunities, open up doors, build relationships, collaborate with people, and most of our time is spent on a collaborative basis. So we work with a lot of people, a lot of agencies, the SUNY, Schenectady, to college, they're a tremendous resource, and it's just making it work, and a lot of resources from here in-house. So there's a lot that goes into this super, that's not just a one-shoe-fit-all type of thing, and people come in with all type of challenges, to be honest with you. I mean, serious challenges. So sometimes all they want is somebody to listen to, just to say hi, to just know that we care, something as simple as that. Sometimes when we went through the grant program last year, we had probably like over 20-some businesses just last year alone that got grants, so we gave out like $200,000 about. So that amount made a tremendous life-changing difference to a lot of small companies. So we should be proud of what we're doing with these small businesses. We launched a small business award for what we had, just basically recognized small businesses. We had over 200 people that attended that event. And to this day, people are still talking about it and planning for next year and what can we do. And, so there's a lot of excitement around here to do different things. And the last part of that is partnership with the school district, and how that relates to developing a pipeline to the workforce here. Because if I'm looking at a survey, I'm saying in 4 years or so, that might be the person walking through these doors. So what can we do to introduce it to public service? Why can't we have a mentoring program where young people coming around, they come to the council, see what the city council does, go to the mayor's office, work in all the departments. So we have the opportunity, we have the resources here, and I think people are interested in it, but we have to, change our culture in terms of how we want to approach it and how we make it feel like it's welcome and it's an opportunity to come in to make a difference. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, looking at this report here on page 2, the subcontractors, the last subcontractor listed on this report was carrying 8% on the PD. Can you highlight why is that happening? Looking at the others are 15, 26%.
Yeah, because the two with the 8 and the 3%, those are primarily the street programs. So it's a Carver and Calhoun. So it's just the nature of the beast. It's tough to get folks into that space, and we're trying to make it happen. But the reality is we meet with them before the bid, we meet with them during the process, during the advertising process, and we do everything we can to merge them together. And we do everything, that we can to make it happen. But at the end of the day, this is what you end up with. These two companies just happen, they own the truck company, they own the quarry, they own everything. So that's what I mean by, if we want to seriously look at this, think about debundling this thing, so that you can create opportunities. And one area that I looked at specifically to this was, okay, we're not going to get into the game going this route. Why can't we build a company? Why can't we encourage companies to partner up in a joint venture or something, and we give them the resources and the tools to prepare themselves for the next level? For example, why can't we do like what they did out in Buffalo or something, where you took a company and they got together and they were able to get a milling machine. So now you got a trucking company that's been working here and getting the crumbs. Now they can go after the milling part of their contract and stand a better opportunity. But the reason why those two numbers are 83, that's the reality of what we're dealing with.
So, do you have another question?
That's fine. I'm willing to continue to work with you in terms of revisiting the policy, and we can bring it forward to the council for us to review it and move forward with any changes that we might have. Just one more. At the beginning, you mentioned that 2023 was a challenging year. What are you going to take from that as you move into 2024 to remove those obstacles?
Well, I think the big thing is really staying focused, paring it down to just a couple of items that we can deal with, because, in 20, earlier we thought we could conquer the world. But the reality is it's not going to happen. So I'm paring down to do what I can in my space to the best that I can do to, be honest with folks and, transparent and keeping it real, having a real conversation. But I think when you look at the reason why I'm so excited and think about the promising opportunities that's coming, when you look at the people that's coming through the door and the lives that we're really changing, and the little letters and notes that I get from people that's grateful, for the efforts, it makes a difference. So that's what gives me the styles to move forward and, keep it moving. And also, I think, by paring it down and just becoming very, very intentional about the direction that we really want to go and the message that we're trying to put out there. I think we're on a great track to make a difference. I participate and collaborate with a lot of people. That's the way this happened. I collaborate with the state. I sit, on the small business panel once a month to talk about issues with the reservation, MWBE, what other locations are doing, and what can we be doing, and the viability of this, that. So we spend a lot of time with a lot of partners collaborating to make these type of things happen. So I bring that home here and, put forth that information and to open up doors and make a difference.
So I know that there's a state, there's a regulation, and then I think you referred to it earlier as what is known as like the good faith effort of these firms, and they need to do this. And it seems to be that the good faith effort, even if they're being made, they're not really getting the result that we would like to do. Outside of debundling some of the projects, when we were bringing in these larger firms, are they expressing a commitment to this work? Are they expressing, they're companies and they're in to make profit, so we need to be honest about that. But I'm saying, like, are we, really encouraging them or having a really explicit conversation around our commitment to this? And do you see some alignment, or do you still see that as pretty far apart?
No, it's not. It's a process. So to that end, I think they're not jumping up and down to make this happen. They're doing what's required. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll give you an example. When it comes back to the paper again, I'll get a page, stack of paper this thick on a good faith effort. Because what they do, they go and print out the entire directory from Empire State Direct, from the state. Mm-hmm. Now, that's crazy, but that's what they do. So who's going to thumb through 100 pages to try to find a single person that do whatever? And then they don't break the scope down, or they don't break the codes down, whatever. So if you're a small guy, you have to spend 8 hours a day just trying to decode some of these numbers in there so that you can even get to the point of putting in a bid. So we have to build a capacity up in terms of helping folks get prepared to get into that space. We have to encourage these smaller firms. Why can't they look into like mentor-protege relationship? Because that's the next thing that we're working on now.
What was that?
Mentor-protege relationship. So that's where a smaller company, will pair up with the majority firm that will basically teach them the ropes and also open up opportunities for them. And then by having a formal relationship, or a formal agreement, they would have opportunities for the smaller firm to, get some of the smaller contracts they may have, and you build a relationship that's gonna go, 4 or 5 years, 6 years. But also, part of that learning process is we have to let our folks, because it's not all on that side, it's over here too, but they have to, submit bids, they got a bid. If the bid date is June 21st at 11 o'clock, you can't come yelling to me July 1st, why I'm not on it when they start. But that's what happens a lot,
To add to that, Ms. Farley, we did remove those words, good faith effort in the BB policy, because we find it as some people they're not making the effort to achieve the percentage. So that we didn't change that to MBB gold instead of good faith effort. So they have to show the reason why they can achieve the percentage.
Exactly.
And you control that pretty much in terms of they have to submit paperwork and things like that to show the cause.
Yeah, we work with them on that, and we're not opposed to working with them and understanding reality. I mean, we do understand we don't have capacity here to take on full 30%, but we are building more firm, building the capacity of the ones that we have, and encouraging joint venturing and partnering and things like that, which ultimately means that we're going to be creating jobs for our here in Schenectady.
Ms. Porterfield.
So on that, completing jobs, because you told us before that 84 people enrolled and 33 completed, but did you say how many people actually got employment? Do you know that number?
I do know there's like 3 on Elmer Avenue, and it's family, because I get this data from the career counselors, so they track all the data for us. So they do all the intake, and they do all the monitoring follow-up. But I don't know exactly how many is working, except for those 3 that's up here, out of this particular thing.
Because, I mean, that really sells the program that people actually became employed, so that'd be
Absolutely.
good data to have.
Absolutely, and part of that is, the challenge is when people finish, the agreement is you're supposed to check in every month, let us know what's happening, are you working yet, no any issues, whatever, but they don't follow through with that, so they have a tough time just getting the data, so we don't know unless somebody has an issue or they get back to us or something like that.
Ms. Patrick.
Sorry, I keep putting you on what kind of outreach do you do to try to get folks? I mean, are we advertising in the Gazette? Are we?
Okay.
I mean, what do we do to try to promote these that we have these opportunities?
Well, we work with Sylvia, so we do a newsletter monthly, that goes out. So we have a very robust means there, and they're very, very responsive. And also we work with organizations, so we try to collaborate with anybody that we can. So working with our partners and getting the word out and just talking to people, and that's how we're able to do it. And I think that's an area that we can get more robust on. So maybe some of the other social media means to make it happen. But we have a good groundwork there. We got a good footing started, and we've been very, very fortunate because we just have to have. I happen to have a lot of support around me. I got Sylvia, that's tremendous with doing this stuff. We got Jamie, over the college. So that's how these things happen. I may know who to talk to or how to have a conversation with, but they really are the ones that drive this bus. So we want to, update it, we can, invest more in getting the word out, the messaging, and, doing more programs and building on what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions concerning?
No, just want to thank you for putting this report together for us, as usual. I will try to engage your office more, rather than waiting for a year. Let's do this maybe every 6 months, give us an update, and then we can revisit the MWD policy in the revision that you so choose. All right, thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Garner. The next are appointments to the Downtown Special Assessment District Board, and that Mayor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In put names forward for council's consideration joining the DSIC. I think these individuals are all here. So, are there any specific questions or comments on any of them? I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
I don't think those are being appointed.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
They've already been appointed.
I'll move this.
Second.
second.
All in favor, I was asking for a second.
Oh, okay. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thirdly, we're going to move on to the appointment of residency board.
Yeah, I'd like to pull this for 2 weeks. The
Okay.
individual that I wanted to bring forward was not quite ready.
Okay.
We didn't receive the resume is what I should say.
Okay.
All right.
So, the next item, agenda item is appointment to the ethics board.
Yes.
President
I brought this forward because right now we have 4 people on the ethics board, and there was an opportunity if the other vacancy didn't get filled for the council to fill it. I wanted to bring forward Mr. Marnie, who resume to sit on the ethics board. He, in full disclosure, was a former employee, had an interest in sitting on the board when he was here, but could not because there was always already an employee on the board. And I know the board has had trouble meeting and getting a quorum, and right now the chair is going to be out for a while, so that's going to even create more of a problem because because he's unable to be able to serve for a while. So I just wanted to bring this forward to have the council consider Mr. Marnie for a seat on the ethics board.
Any questions, concerns, comments around that?
Is this a council appointment?
If the mayor doesn't, isn't then within 30 days, yes, the council could. That's what it says in the code. And they're having a problem, and we didn't get that 5th person for the ethics board.
Mr. Cho?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, I can. That the code says that if within 30 days, there's not, when the board is convened and they don't, there's an opening, that the council can put it forward.
Okay.
Yes.
30 days of when, I'm sorry, I'm just missing
Well,
this.
actually, the code says 30 days when the board is created, but, so this board was reconvened, I can't remember, but last year, in order to look at some concerns that were brought forth against the council member that were convened, and since that time, there's still been that last opening has been there, so it's well over 30 days.
So it's well over 30
Yes.
days, okay.
Any thoughts, comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Which passes. At this time, I would like to close out government operations.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
I'd like to call to order Public Safety Committee. We have one item on the agenda tonight that is to discuss the amendment to the City Code, Chapter 93, Section 3, which specifically speaks about term limits, holdovers, and vacancies. Before I ask Mr. Keith St. John to speak about how this is felt as a member of the board, I can definitely recount my time on the board as chair a few years ago. Definitely, vacancy concerns have been existing for a long period of time, and that is one of the singular reasons that could prevent the council from, or prevent the board, from doing the work of reviewing the complaints. So we are not at a crisis point yet. However, we are at a point where we need to act, hence having this brought on. I know with adjusting the code, it requires a call for public hearing, and as you can see, the weeks start to add up. So then if the council, if the board is then put in a position where they're not able to have quorum, then we are starting to have complaints pile up that aren't reviewed in a timely manner. So, Mr. St. John, would you mind briefly just highlighting some of the issues?
You've already told my joke, so there's not much more for me to add, but I'm here really not only as a board member, and thank you for those of you who helped me get there, but in Deneen Palmentier's absence. She's the chair, but currently on vacation, and will be back later this week. So I, and perhaps another, Julia Hoke is here from the board. You've really summed it up well. And by the last item on your agenda, you're very familiar with the problems that are caused when a body is not either fully impaneled or when the membership, for whatever reason, one of many, don't meet in sufficient numbers so that there's a quorum. That's what the current problem is facing the board, and it will only get worse the longer it takes to find a remedy to that problem.
Thank you, Mr. St. John. Any questions or concerns from the council? Hearing none. Yes. So my proposition is, and very much it came from opinions from Ms. Porterfield and also Ms. Deneen, who is the chair, rather than removing organizations from having representation on the board, the consideration was to add a 30-day stipulation. So already before a member's term is set to expire, 60 days prior to that, an announcement is sent to the organization. We are proposing to add an additional 30 days. And after that point, if a member or an alternate has not been selected from the organization, the opportunity then falls to the council to nominate someone at large. And then also I wanted to use this opportunity to add in language for organizations to submit alternates. Now this is an individual that would not have any voting power as long as their primary was there. However, having a second person already vetted through the process completely streamlines having to find a replacement thereafter.
I actually happen to think the current code provides for standbys, and those persons are the equivalent, as I read it, of an alternate. Can't vote unless and until their primary is absent or unavailable.
Correct.
So we'll need to call for public hearing to make these changes.
Any other questions, Ms. Patrick?
Oh, no, I was going to make the motion to.
Second. Oh, no, sorry.
Mr. Mayor?
Use scenario by which you would have the appointment go directly to the council. I believe that would have to go to the voters. You can't, today I'm the appointing authority, or even though it comes from the groups, going forward, can't reduce the authority of an elected official during their term of office. So if you push that back so that I'm still part of the process, you can move forward a public hearing, amend the code. Otherwise, you would have to put it on the ballot for a formal vote in November.
So you're saying the appointments would have to come from you after the 30 days to bring to the council?
Yes.
Were you looking to change that in this revision? Where the appointment come from?
Well, it says it would go to the city council, so it takes the mayor out of it. I'm saying you can't do that.
So under and all the appointments under the current code come from the mayor's office?
The names go to the mayor.
Right.
And they're supposed to submit 2 names to me. I'm supposed to pick one, send it to the council. We've made it more of a informal agreement where the names come in. Usually there's 2. One is the primary designee, one is the alternate. So again, it was trying to keep individuals in the pipeline to be able to have the board do its actual work.
So I would say with that information, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would say as long as you are still open to receiving nominations from anyone, which I believe you are, I have no issue with that. So if we make a motion to
have a public hearing?
Yes.
Make a motion to call a public hearing.
Yes.
Sorry. I propose that the council wait 1 cycle so that we can propose the legislation and you can review it prior to having the public hearing.
Okay.
That's fine.
That makes sense.
Yep.
That's fine, yeah.
So we're going to keep this or add it to the agenda for 2 weeks. Thank you. Were there any other items that would follow public safety? Hearing none, I have motion to open.
The only other thing that is where we have a set of community groups that were the focus when this legislation was drafted. Again, I believe it's still a good group. People may want to think over the next 2 weeks, is there other organizations in the community that have shifted, other areas of responsibility that you might want to have either as formal groups or ones that we would reach out informally in terms of recruiting membership for the board?
And I would say to that point, I want to be careful in how I speak to the members of the board. We were trying to sort of stop the issue from occurring and then allowing them with a fuller board to then recommend any additional measures for us to review at a later date. So trying not to overstep, or I don't think we can, for the council, so we can adjust the code as we see fit. But with respect to how this plays out for their interactions, I would caution against over-responding.
Over what, I'm sorry?
Over-responding. So allowing them the opportunity to expand or recognize whether they believe additional organizations are necessary. I think for so long we have not had a full board, or they have not functioned with a full board. So
I believe it's the Historic District Commission requires me to send out a notice to predefined group. If they send in names, supposed to give those the first act of consideration. If they don't send any in, then I can reach out and put names together, which then come to the city council for confirmation. And that model may still be the better one, so that, as you pointed out, Carl, and sometimes people get it in timely, sometimes they don't. If we have a list of organizations, we want to make sure they know there's a vacancy coming up. There's the ability to serve, and if they want to put somebody in, that's fine. If they don't, we're going to do recruitment independent of it.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Pettit.
So if they don't put in a name, would we still be, I think, I'm glad that we're waiting, because there's a lot of questions here, because I just want to make sure I'm hearing you the right way. So let's say it's the Human Rights Commission doesn't put in a name, would you still be looking for someone that's within the, that was a bad example, within the Schenectady United Neighborhoods, in other words, would you still be looking for someone from that group? Or would you just say, okay, now they've sort of given up their opportunities, so we can get anyone from the community? Or are we still to think about all this?
The reality in these things, you get widely variant times for recruitment. Sometimes you get levels of activity, you got people coming forward, and of course you have a list. You hope they're going to put forth names, but the reality is sometimes you can't get them to serve, and you have to reach beyond those organizational structures.
And then to that point, sometimes we're dealing with organizations that aren't meeting on a monthly basis, so then that lengthens the timeline. So I think rather than expunging or adding, I think this allows us to select an individual with the mayor for a term cycle, which is 2 years. And then after that point, the opportunity for the organization to find a replacement is still present.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so can I have a motion to proceed with the public hearing? Or no, excuse me. I just call myself,
Okay.
bring it back in 2
Sorry.
weeks.
Don't
Very
worry.
productive. Bring it back in 2 weeks. All right, if, with that being said, are there any other items that will come before Public Safety Committee? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I'd like to call to order City Development and Planning. We have 11 items on the agenda. Ms. Carver has asked if we could move her up. She does have a daycare thing that she needs to take care of, so if you don't mind, we'll move her to the top of the agenda to just give us the update on ARPA. Yeah, and everyone should have it printed out.
Good evening. I'm going to provide a high-level update for you tonight on ARPA. Since we last met, Cocoa House and BC&I Hamilton Hill Infill Project, they are currently pending a draft contract to be reviewed by the mayor and corporation council. Electric City Co-op has submitted 99% of their pre-contractual documents to meet their deadline for the extension of March 12th. We are still waiting for pre-contract documents for the YMCA Harbor House as well. Some of the updates that I have for you tonight is the Miracle on Grape project. As last spoken, we know that is not happening. That is currently in the hands of Corporation Council. The notice of default was sent and pending transfer title. We received, also on hold at this time is the Empowerment and Doree Center. That project is on hold. We received several requests for additional ARPA funding. The first one to be discussed tonight is the Bethesda House. Bethesda requested additional funding amount, which the formal letter was sent to City Council for review with supporting documents. They asked for $400,000. The YMCA, again, another formal request was received. They are asking for $100,000. That is to support the Black and Latino Achievers Program. And based on the letter, the supporting letter and formal request they sent, they currently have 62 young people in the program from Schenectady, and they anticipate that number to double this calendar year.
Did this group submit an application?
The YMCA did not submit an application.
All right, thank you.
And last but not least is
Ms. Carver?
Yes.
How much money did they request?
100,000.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you.
And last but not least will be the YWCA. They are requesting additional ARPA funding for $1.5 million. They currently have been allotted $750,000, and that is being used to build 54 units of new construction. The 1.5 in additional funding that they are requesting is for construction and substantial rehabilitation to their current 42-unit housing structure on Washington Avenue. And that concludes my ARPA updates.
Is this the group that came before us before, and at that time wasn't it asked 850,000?
It was two.
Right? Hmm?
So this is Bethesda?
No, YW, on the back of the sheet.
The YW, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was,
When they came for additional funding, was initially...
That was what, during our predecessor, it was $850,000. When they sent the formal letter of request, they were asking for 1.5.
Okay, thank you.
oh, but
Ms. Patrick?
but Bethesda House, weren't they, I thought that their request for additional funds was for 200,000, not...
So at our last meeting, Councilwoman, I had misspoke.
Ah, okay.
It was 400,000.
Okay, thank you. And I do have another question.
Go ahead, Ms. Patrick.
Okay, so for example, the Duryea Empowerment Center with the city. So on hold, how long are we going to keep things on hold, for example? Because when do we get to the point where we say, okay, well, maybe we could use the money in a different way? I didn't know if there was any discussion about that.
Well, to that one, I'll speak in particular. The jury submitted an application individually. The empowerment submitted an application individually, but at some point they were put together, I'm assuming in the Department of Development. I know that was pre you. So at this point in time, jury, as my understanding, is wanting to move forward. However, because the Empowerment Center is not positioned financially to move forward, then that holds up that project as well.
And if I may add, Doree's original application was for construction. When they merged this application, it is now for programming.
So I guess the question to me becomes, I don't know where the Empowerment Center, I think these are going to be longer conversations. I don't know where the Empowerment Center is, and do we leave Doree there? Because if we leave Doree there and then the Empowerment Center doesn't happen for whatever reason, because there is a huge funding gap, is my understanding, then what happens to the other projects? So. Yes, Mr. Williams.
I know Mr. Toro raised it during our last meeting of the conversation was not extending any additional, I want to say stays, but what was the wording that we used? Not allowing any more postponements.
Extended, yeah.
Extensions.
More extensions.
Extensions. Is there a timeline in your mind based on your familiarity with these projects when that date is going to have to be something where we start, to Ms. Patrick's point, recouping back some of these allotments?
Well, the last extensions that we have currently right now on file are March 12th. So I would say any time after March 12th.
Thank you.
I just have a general question on the YWCA asking for $100,000. In our current budget, we set aside $150,000 for a youth program. Can we have them work with the mayor's office, the school district, and tap into this $150,000 and have it under one umbrella?
What program is that? I'm sorry, Mr.
The
Rivera.
YWCA.
YM.
YM?
For the 100,000?
Yes, sorry.
Latino.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Because we have $150,000 in the budget here. So instead of spreading it, why not bring them together and work along with the mayor, the school district, and, you know, I'm just throwing that out to the council, yes.
Because I do not have the budget in front of me, I I think the work with the school district was more around youth employment.
Yes.
So I don't know that would be, I think that's a good idea, but I don't know if they'll necessarily align.
Ms. Patrick?
That program has been around for a long time. I was on the initial committee that set it up, and they work with the school district, but not really. It is a Capital District YMCA program, so it's not the same as the youth employment program that we had. It's a wonderful program with many graduates who have gone on to college. It's just a great program,
But the question of, are we going to be utilizing the entire 150,000? Maybe we take a portion of that, consider that is, I'm throwing that on the table.
they're asking for 60, I think.
100,000.
Oh, 100.
We could look at that, Jen, to see if there is some overlap or...
Because I think in the last year, there were some savings from the last program.
Yeah, I think we can look at
So we can look at that as a council of the mayor and see if we can tap in and give them some funding through the 150.
And then I think after March 12th, we may be able to revisit other funds.
So I just want to bring that to the...
Yeah.
Okay, so, yes, Mr. Toro.
Thank you. How much ARPA money's out there, which hasn't been?
That's a finance question.
I'm looking for the finance guy.
He's ready.
Yeah, he's going
Right.
to
Mr. Ferrari did supply us with a report actually during budget season, so it should be, we could probably pull up the emails and actually send it to you, because we did get that from him. How much money was unallocated, not unspent, but unallocated. Yeah. So we really, I think we need to actually take a deep look at these before we making decisions, and I would suggest we put that on for 2 weeks. We could conceivably call a special meeting and meet only to discuss ARPA if the council's open to it, since we definitely have these that we need to discuss. So that's something that we could also, and just make that meeting just about the ARPA money, because we really need to start closing the door. I don't know if that's the best term I want to use. And we really need to start wrapping this up. So, yes, Mr. Williams.
I do remember those conversations being rather lengthy, and then if we're going to give each project the needed time and attention, I think a special meeting makes sense.
So we can ask Ms. Michael to send out when we're available for that, and then we can come up and have a special meeting, and it will be announced, and the public will be able to listen or even come.
I look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carver. Okay, returning to the agenda, the first item is to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into the easement and maintenance agreement. Mr. Wallen is back.
Thank you. So I'd like to acknowledge Phil Morse in the room. The director of Proctor's Theater, 432 State Street. As you know, or as you may or may not be aware, Proctor's Theater runs both a heating and cooling plant and a future electricity generation cogen plant at the facility adjacent to Proctor's. The heating and cooling lines are currently in the roadway. They are between the buildings. This would be an easement that would encapsulate those existing lines as well as encumber new lines to be for the power between the two facilities. And Phil, I didn't know if you wanted to talk any at the project or if you were comfortable with me covering it.
I have a few of these. These are quite old, but they're the best I have to share.
Okay, I thought you might.
It is very interesting because, yes, we have a thermal lines running across the street to Center City as well as to the Hampton Inn and the Parker Inn. And we are now adding electric to it. The electric is co-generated, meaning that all the waste heat on the engine that'll make electricity will be used to support the heating and cooling system. So we'll be in the neighborhood of 85 to 95% efficient. Most of the grid's about 45% efficient. So it's a huge reduction in carbon output for the neighborhood and for Schenectady. And at the same time, means that the Y and the city center properties and the CVS and Proctor's are available as emergency shelters should there be a flood or storm, something that requires the grid to be down, forces the grid to be down. We'll be able to operate independently. There's only one other one like this in New York State, so it's pretty remarkable that it can happen. It was delayed during COVID quite a bit, so what you're looking at is a very old set of working documents, but it came back after COVID, and now we're looking at it being operational by March of '25.
So this is an extension beyond what you had in COVID, during COVID?
We've always had the hot and cold water. 18 years we've been running hot and cold water underground. This is adding electricity to that and putting a line right next to the existing thermal hot and cold water lines. It's making it a bigger footprint, but also extending the easement to be one easement rather than 2 or 3 or something else.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
No?
Yes, Ms. Patrick?
No, I was going to make... Well, I was going to just say something in moving it, but I have to say, because for 18 years I thought this was an incredibly visionary project that occurred. So I compliment you on expanding it now, and thank you for doing it all these years. So I will make the motion.
Before you do that,
Sorry.
you got me started.
Sorry.
So no, I want to highlight, especially I think in my own experience in Schenectady when we were going through the pandemic, Proctor's, like a lot of places, had to close their normal operational doors, but acted as a community hub for young people in need of some in-person instruction. And I think that just kind of speaks to kind of the spirit of what we're trying to do here in case of that. So always a valued partner, and I appreciate that.
And I do as well. So now.
Okay, now.
And second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wallen. Thank you, Mr. Morris. Next item is to award bidding contract for the City of Schenectady tennis court improvements.
Yeah, so as you're aware, the City of Schenectady houses a large tennis complex in Central Park, home to 17 courts. The facility is used as the USTA regional hub for their summer tournament schedule. The condition of the courts, however, will not allow us to hold the USTA events. I've been working with the USTA in 15 Love for about a year now on putting together this program that we have here of improvements. We actually had an engineer come up from the USTA out of Long Island, Flushing Meadows, do an evaluation. We had CHA Sports do a second evaluation. And what we're looking to do is put this work out, which is the preservation of the lower 10 courts and the what we would call the refurbishment of the upper 7 courts. So preservation is we're essentially going to coat, seal, and paint. The upper ones will be milled, fabric, paved, then coated, sealed, and painted. So at the conclusion of that, we will have 17 functioning courts. One of the things I just want to point out, which is we have an expedited schedule. We're trying to get this work completed by June in order to meet the USTA schedule. The contractor, Carver Construction, who was the lone bidder, they were the lone bidder and successful completer of our pickleball complex and Fairview tennis courts in the Bellevue neighborhood, which came out great. So we have confidence in the group. The other thing is that the amount here that we're showing, 671, is above the budgeted amount. I am working with the USTA on an agreement, and the agreement is a partnership where they will hopefully, if we can come to terms, be able to cover this cost to do more of a cooperation in terms of it would tie the investment of the courts that they make to the term of the lease. We just got it because they went through it, and our law department is reviewing it now. We spoke with the mayor a little bit about it, and our director of parks, Willie Dean, and we're just working through the details, but we really want to get this work awarded. If we have to change it, we can, but the agreement should be coming next cycle because that's what we're setting up for.
Yes, Ms. Patrick.
So am I hearing you that you're, because I was going to ask if we could, as I always do, whether we could bring in more revenue from the USTA in terms of using the courts. But so what, are you actually saying that they're willing, or you're going to be talking to them about paying us the $671,000? Is that what I heard?
The balance, there's a balance.
Oh,
We have,
between the-
we
what we have
allocated a half a million dollars,
Yeah.
and we have 475,000 remaining.
Yeah.
That balance, they have already received approval from USDA Regional. However, we just want to make sure we're all, so I don't want to get into it too much in detail, but we're confident that we'll be able to come to an agreement to make this project happen, if not more.
All right, yeah. All right, any other questions?
We're just confident we can get it done by June too? That's pretty low.
It is, but that's what we're gonna, and I think having the USDA's backing, I mean, the big thing is Carver will be able to get the paving done. The issue is once you pave it has to sit for 3 weeks. So we have to hurry up and wait. So we're gonna have to hurry up, get in there and pave and wait for all the oils to dissipate because we cannot coat fresh asphalt because it will get a little slick and gooey. So we're gonna try to get in there. Paving usually starts sometime in April, so we're gonna try to get in there right when we can to do the work.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
So I think it's never a safe assumption to think that everyone has access to the internet. So while this construction is going to be going on, I believe that's ideal tennis playing time. I don't play tennis. Is there any way? I think it's probably better question position for the parks director, but putting out like just flyers or notifications, just informing the local neighborhood residents that utilize these parks of other options throughout the city.
Yeah, I can work with Willie on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay.
I'll move this.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the award bid contract for the construction of teaching greenhouse building for the Central Park greenhouse facility.
Yep. So the Friends of the Greenhouse have been very successful in receiving funding from various sources. This particular grant was received from Phil Steck's office. It is a SAM grant in the amount of $125,000. The use of the SAM grant is to take down an existing dilapidated greenhouse and to construct what they're calling a teaching greenhouse. Teaching greenhouse will be able to hold classes and be used as more of an educational center. They're looking at this to be one of the focal points in the facility. We put out this bid in cooperation with them. We received 3 bids. The low bid was M.A. Schaefer Construction. M.A. Schaefer Construction has been the successful low bidder on 2 previous projects at the greenhouse. Their composting toilet and their storage shed, as well as they also constructed our golf course maintenance building and our fire services emergency facility. So we've done 5 previous projects with them and have had no issues with their construction to date. They have a good relationship with the Friends of the Greenhouse and everyone's excited to move forward with the project. There is a budget discrepancy. However, I'm planning on covering it with allocated funds from our facility improvements. It is a city facility, so I don't think that that is outside of anything, given that the Friends of the Greenhouse essentially operates a city facility. So that difference is what I'm going to make up with our capital.
And how much is that?
Well, it's the amount, 178.8 minus 125, so it's roughly 53,000.
Okay.
What's the timeline on this?
This is going to be in the spring. Yeah, no, this is something that we're going to move on quickly. Our city, just to be clear, we're doing the demolition, we're doing the grading, we're doing the plumbing, we're doing the electrical, so there is a savings. This is specifically for the concrete and the construction of the prefabricated greenhouse.
Any other questions, comments?
I'll move. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, item number 4 is authorize the issuance of a revocable permit, I can say that, number 679 to the Horses Lounge.
So the Horses Lounge has been purchased and will be operated by the gentleman who I believe opens Broken Inn in Niskayuna. They are looking to put essentially the facility back the way it is and operate it similar to how it was, which includes keeping the sign or putting up a new similar sign. The sign is 12 inches into the right-of-way, but because of that, we still require a revocable permit.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Wallen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, the next item on the agenda is Mohawk Harbor, Mayor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Getting kind of presentation, prior cycle from Metroplex and Lessie Corporation. Can you College is here, and at this point looking for your formal approval of $2.5 million to allow that event center project to move forward.
Discussion? So, I always have a lot of questions, and I've had more. So, and I've had, so some of these discussions with he's gone now, Mr. Gillen. So, and this is probably for him. I understand what the ask is, but my question at that time was, what was the pilot going to be? So that to me, the payment in lieu of taxes to me is very important to this, because it becomes more than 2.5 million. It becomes whatever the pilot is. So I would like to know what that is.
At the presentation, I think, it was a community center. Was it
what
as this project? This, I don't think the pilot will attract it for a community center, not-for-profit.
This is not going to be a not-for-profit. This is a privately owned
It's
organization.
not-for-profit, there wouldn't be a pilot, there wouldn't be any revenue from it to begin with.
Right. It's not a not-for-profit.
It's not.
It's a privately owned project. I don't know. Did you want to speak to that?
You want me to speak to it? Well, I don't know the protocol.
Oh, yes. If you, I was specifically asking about the pilot. So, would you?
Yeah, there will be a pilot. Typically, these projects are. I'm sorry.
This is public hears.
Sore throat. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Typically, these projects are owned by counties, cities, metroplexes, or authorities. So this would be actually something similar. So there would be pilot. There would be nominal taxes generated at best for this on this project. Typically, again, like MVP Center, it's owned by the county. It's a non-taxable event. This is one of the few that's owned. Glens Falls is owned by the city. This is one of the few that would be because nobody else wanted to own it. But along those lines, this is a community service for us. So there would be a pilot. The benefits would be, as well as the benefits of keeping Union College in place. We've gone through this before. I don't want to reiterate. Having a lot of ability to host other events, whether it's high school, kids programs, bring other smaller events to the community, as well as actually bring people into the harbor, bring people into the casino, which I know the casino pays $2.6 million a year to the county and the city. The more money that they could pay on their revenue, the more taxes both the city and the county would get, as well as bed tax, sales tax, et cetera. So that's the community benefit. But these typically are not. In a perfect world, we wouldn't own it either. If Union College owned it, it would be non-taxable. If the county owned it, it would be non-taxable. Metroplex owned it, it would. We just put all this together, hopefully with the state, with the assembly, with the county, with Metroplex, and hopefully the city, that we could all collaborate and create something on a vacant piece of land right now.
So we don't know what the pilot would be at this moment.
The pilot would be nominal at best. It would not be a significant amount of taxes at all.
So the project would not pay.
It would not pay, other than some nominal fees, but not property taxes, no.
Okay. All right. Yes.
So I just think, so this project, I know that before we had allocated 2.5 million to what was going to be the aquatic center. The reason why, well, I speak for myself, the reason why it was really important to support that is because not only will it bring people into the city, obviously generate business, but was really an array of youth programs and services that can be housed out of that. And I think that this project right here has far greater capacity to reach our community, and especially as it relates to like youth sports programs and more even in the way of arts and entertainment. So I just kind of wanted to kind of amplify that piece, because that's something that is really important. I don't want to get lost in the conversation.
And one point of clarity too, the aquatic center would have been having a pilot as well, so they wouldn't have been a taxpayer. Don't let that fall.
So the other point, the last time that with this information we have in front of us here says that it's for site prep. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
For site prep.
Site preparation. Yes.
Okay. In the document that we got from ESDC, it said the cost for site prep was 1.5 million, almost 1.6, as opposed to, but this ask is 2.5.
Good news and bad news. The bad news is the site prep is significantly more than $3 million, actually. We got actually a lot more than $4 million. This will go towards a portion of it. We just got a change order alone for pilings that are...
You got to change what?
Change order for pilings. We have to put piles in the ground, as well as do additional paving and parking lots, et cetera. The piles alone are north of $2.1 million that we're all not planning on. A gift that keeps on taking.
All right, so, let's see. All right, now, has this project, maybe you stay here.
I don't say, I do have a little comment.
Okay, all right.
From you.
All right, so, has this work already begun? Because I see there is some work that started down there. I just have to, I drive by from time to time.
There's no work started.
No work started yet?
No.
Okay, so are you waiting for, is all the funding in place?
Depends on what you guys do tonight.
So all the other funding is 100% in place?
There is a resolution needed at the county, but they've committed to work with us on that. So it would be the same timing as you people. But that would be the last. This would be the cherry on the cake for the Sunday.
Would this put us in a position to maybe recruit like a semi-pro basketball team, arena football, or, looking at...
The answer is yes and no. Arena football, we're too small.
It is, okay.
And I can't say because I've got a confidentiality, but we've been approached by a couple professional sports teams and going right across the board, because there's also Rochester, Syracuse, Utica, they have soccer, they have lacrosse is down in, and we don't want to compete with the MVP Center. But we've had a variety of people reach out. The answer is yes to the question, with the exception of arena football. Arena football, they draw 10,000 people there. This is one that wouldn't be able to do that. But the other is, I just noticed Binghamton got, for instance, the New York State basketball championships. It's a 2-year bid. I mean, that's something that it took from Glens Falls. This would be an ideal situation. It's centrally located. It's got more hotel rooms. So I think we can compete, particularly on New York State, whether it's volleyball, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's basketball, whether it's hockey. But the other thing too is we really want to make this is a community. This is something really, we're doing this for the community. As much as it's a for-profit, we don't want to own this, but it's the only way it's going to get done.
Like, some of the uses for the community, like job fairs, running job fairs there.
You can expand. Right now, the event center at the casino is very limited in terms of getting, but I think, and we've had variety of meetings with Discover Schenectady too. I mean, New York State, a lot of conventions have to stay in New York State. A lot of them go to Turning Stone or to Rochester or Syracuse. The Turning Stone draws a huge amount. I drove by there last time. They had a firemen's convention. This is going to bring a lot of spending here, and we can compete. We're not going to compete with the Capitol Center. That's what, 20, 30,000 square feet. But we're going to be able to compete and bring people here. Todd, if it happens, is so excited about being able to recruit. We're going to be able to compete with the Saratogas. We're going to be able to compete. I mean, this is Glens Falls is a little outdated. They're a nice community up there, but I think we can bring in a lot of things. This is so centrally located on the thruway, so it's really, but it's sports, but it's also events that we can do, trade shows, conferences. We've had, we had the National Canal Conference a few years ago. We didn't have enough room. So those are things we can go after. You can go after a lot of this, the trade unions. They can have their annual meetings here. They have them over at Turning Stone. What does Turning Stone got? They got golf courses, but we've got a city. We've got an airport. I'm originally from Rome, New York. There's nothing out there in Verona other than a beautiful big casino that doesn't pay taxes. So I really, out of all the things we've done, and we've done $1 billion worth of business in Schenectady County. We just celebrated our 55th anniversary, January 30th in the capital region. And we've put our money where our mouth is. And one thing, this is a tough project. It's the state, it's the county, it's Metroplex, it's the Assembly, the Governor, Carl Hasty, everybody, this is a need here. We don't have it. So I'm a Schenectady resident, I live here, I work here, I play here. But the fact is that I think this is a missing component. It's a vacant piece of property. You've got, as I said before, you could build apartments there. Our apartments are full. But I think this benefits the community more. You've got the dock that we work with the city and the Department of State on, so you're going to get other people coming in on the harbor. There's going to be boat rentals this year out there. Every year we add something, and tying it into the bike trail, and now you've got the loop that's going around, the Metroplex is doing with Glenville. Boy, when you look at our city compared to some of the others, I'm not going to pick on them because it's public, but the fact is that they ask us to come in and talk to them about creating stuff in other cities in the capital region. We're Schenectady born and bred here. I wasn't born, I was born in Rome, but I've been here since '71.
This is out there in left field, but in the event there was some catastrophic event, wouldn't be a flood, but ice storm or some others, that we could maybe have your center in part of our emergency planning, where you're setting up, bringing folks that...
Oh, I think that's a great idea, as long as you don't screw up Union's hockey games.
Yeah, no, I think that...
But no, you know what? Think about it. We talked to Philip about using Center City as why there. This is, let's say you had a catastrophe and you could end up with, or if you needed to hand out supplies or emergency, that type of stuff. Boy, look at that. We don't have that here. You're not going to do in the Proctors. There's seats there. But those type of things, Joe, the sky's the limit in terms of some of the things you can really imagine. And we're just scraping the tip of the iceberg along those lines. But this connects the public, it connects the union, it connects to the high schools. This is going to make something Schenectady a destination. And if the aquatic center happens in Rotterdam, which I hope it does, boy, that's even more. And they're going to play off each other.
Patrick?
I wouldn't want to see us miss this opportunity. I think that we've spent, the past, 15 or 20 years, I guess, really making sure that we have built up our restaurants, we've built up our hotels. This is just going to be another remarkable asset that we will have to be able to sell our city to conferences, to conventions. The idea, which we talked about at the last meeting in terms of the youth sports and the opportunity for our children to have this opportunity as well. Not to mention the parking will be better than when we come to a Union hockey game, just teasing there. But I think that if we were to say no to this, if the city council was to say no, we're not going to, put funding through to this, I just think it would be, as if we had said no to the casino. I just think that we've been building and building and building up our city and the opportunities for tourism and attracting people here, and I fully support the project and us funding it.
I really do think the payback is there, though. This is going to, in terms of sales tax, occupancy tax,
sure,
employment, and it's going to just create the opportunity of, again, because we got to remember too, the casino competes with Springfield. There's going to be casinos in New York City. We've got to make sure that we have this revenue stream. We're getting $2.6 million a year, which is a very nice revenue stream, in addition to $4 million in property taxes from the casino alone. The Gillespie Group entities, including the casino, pay over $20 million in city, county, and school taxes. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. But this is one, as a resident and somebody that's been in this council before, and it was, we've been there a long time. But the fact is, I get goosebumps when I walk through the casino and see the amount of employees and the lives we've changed. It's big. And the casino has raised, they're all union wages. Their wages went up over 40% over the last 3 years. So you got people that don't leave there because they're never going to get their life, their health insurance. Everything is good And we do have, I think we're a significant amount of Schenectady residents, and definitely, I think we're close to 40% in WMBE there, which is fantastic. And it's really, these people, we've got day oneers. Next week is our 7th anniversary. So lucky 7. But again, if I didn't think it was that important, I wouldn't have spent this much time. This is something that originated, Dr. Harris knows, pre-COVID. And this wasn't my idea. I don't know if it was Dr. Harris's idea. It was somebody saying, we got to find a solution for Union. I was around in 1977, 76 when the Achilles Rink was built. And parking, look at what we're doing. We solve another problem in the neighborhoods. I mean, parking along, it is a crazy thing to have to go park and watch a hockey game. It is. It served its purpose then, but you probably could never get that project approved on campus again because we don't have enough parking. And God forbid we don't have a snowstorm. So, sorry to take up so much of your time.
No, absolutely not. I wanted to just highlight your choice of words where you said a missing component. I think that was very intentional and I think accurately reflects the nature of this project. Definitely adding this type of resource to our community, I think just bolsters the Electric City mantra that is continuing to exist day in and day out. Definitely with respect to that, I try to be careful with touching on to like the school board and board of education because we stay separate for a reason, but there are conversations of how do we, or what our next superintendent looks like. And there were comments in the paper that highlighted that Schenectady City school districts are seen as catapults or leaping pads. And I don't think we need to. I think our city is good enough and we do an excellent job with what we offer to our community. And I would love to magnifying Ms. Patrick's comments. This is truly something that can last generations.
It is, and combining the school district, excuse me, with community college, with what Union's done in their outreach. Long before you were here, Union was an island, and you've done a great job, Dr. Harris, in terms of integrating Union College and your students in our community, and whether it's even doing the Learn to Skate program or the field hockey things. I mean, that's what we have to do, and we can keep these alumni in town too. It's important. But I think it's right. This is a facility that we can really work with the school district if they want to do things. Schenectady Community College if they need a graduation place.
Yeah.
I mean, they look at all. Sky's the limit. And we're going to look for members of the community on how to make this work. We got to pay for itself, but we're looking for people and ideas. And Joe, some of yours were good ideas as well.
Mr. Mutaveran?
Yeah, I just want to echo, to add to Mr. Farley talking about economic impact generated. And going back to the casino, I'm the only remaining city council member who voted for the casino and still here. And at that time, we talked about the economic impact the casino was going to bring to the city. And over the year, we have seen that, and we continue to see the impact that the casino project brought to the city. With business that follows that, trickle down into the neighborhood and to the other part of the city. And adding another project like this here will also trigger that same sort of, outcome. So listen to all the comments here and things like that. It's something that I would definitely support. We move forward with funding this project because looking at the outcome from the casino, look at what happened, and look at continue to happening into the city because of the casino and the other projects. And with this project, this event center with a capacity of 3,500 seating, we're talking about the impact of hotels, restaurants, and all these other stuff that is going to trickle behind that when the center is there to accommodate all these events.
I appreciate the kind words. I'm sort of losing my voice.
Yeah, okay. So you talked a lot about. You talked a lot about. There's more. Oh, you need water. You talked a lot about the benefits to the community. So, is there an opportunity for a written community benefits agreement to make sure that those things are in place?
Of course.
So, I for one think that's very important.
I think we've got to be.
I don't mean the agreement with the union. That's different.
No, we got to be cognizant of the use of union, and that's their teams and their players and practices, et cetera. But no, this is the community's investing in this thing.
Yeah.
Governor Hochul and Carl Hasty are investing in it. I hope you guys invest in it. Angelo Santa Barbara's investing in it. I mean, the governor wants, she told me that I'd love to come out and have a groundbreaking with us. I mean, think about it. They love Schenectady. We are a poster child. If you read this, the budget or the state of the state, she talked about Schenectady as a model on how to develop in the inner city. We got to be proud of that. I am.
So, I know I'm not the only one that talks about community benefits agreements. So does anyone have anything that they want to talk about what that would need to look like? Because, well, just because I think that we need it, and nobody's trying to step on the toes of union, just so you know. But while we're talking about union, and not again to put you on the spot, you talked about a pilot. So would union also, and I guess I should look at you when I say this, but would there also be getting a pilot from union that we don't
No.
currently?
No, union is not, this has nothing to do with a pilot for union.
Okay.
So,
They don't.
it's not owned by union. If union owned it, they wouldn't need a pilot anyway.
No, well, I'm just wondering if there was
No.
like some
No,
good faith pilot coming. I can ask that.
Absolutely, good questions. But the benefit of putting their students and fans outside the campus, I mean, we can go down the checklist, and there's, I don't know if I can come up with something bad about this project. There's a lot of projects that are bad. I can't find one, in all honesty, and I've been developing since 1981 in Schenectady.
Which one? Mr. Toro?
Yeah.
Did you have your hand up as well?
Yeah.
Mr. Toro?
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Mr. Bucco for your investment here in the city, for the many projects that you undertake. By putting...
Some are better than others.
The revenue that we have from the casino, and hopefully revenue from the event center, will just continue to always make us grow and look better. So I thank you for your efforts and your dedication and your devotion to our city.
I appreciate it, but the revenue comes from the hotels, it comes from the office buildings, it comes from the apartments, and we've got, I mean, probably about 400 people. They're all Schenectady residents now.
That work for you?
They live in the apartments.
Oh, they live in the apartment. Well, of course they are. They live in the
But think about it. Look, those are all new people in condo. We brought in a lot of new people. A lot of people from the National Guard live there, and you know, it's nice to see them walking around with their uniforms and they have 3 Dalmatians each. Anyway, no, sorry about that.
Yeah, you mentioned about community agreement. What are you looking forward in terms of have this in the resolution or have them agreement for us?
I think that it has to be separate and apart than the resolution. Yes. Mr. You had a... Oh, go ahead, Mr. Moon. I'm sorry.
Do we add that into the resolution that the funding is contingent upon
I would say
community
yes.
agreement?
Or make that part of your grant. I mean, that's right.
Yeah, that's what that's the resolution.
I agree.
Yeah.
Contract for the money.
Contract, yeah, sorry.
The resolution tends to be more generic.
But the contract.
Thank you.
And we're going to have clawbacks if we don't live up to it too, which is great.
Oh, we'll put that in there too.
I shouldn't open my mouth.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Farlow.
No. I think that, the point I was going to raise is kind of an answer. But I think that, people understanding that there's various ways that such a project will, increase, the quality of life for people who live in the city of Schenectady. Kind of having those things laid out in a form of an agreement can also, shore up the confidence for the people. So again, I appreciate your flexibility.
We can collaborate on the thing too. And guess what? Some of it's going to be a little vague because we don't know what we don't know yet. Nobody's done one of these before. I think the last one built, the last one that's actually over in Utica. And it was, the state gave them a lot of money to do that one. But ever since, it's around here, Glens Falls Civic Center is the last thing really. That was a long time ago.
So we need, this is actually a question for the council. We need to talk about what the people are looking for in terms of the community benefit agreement. I mean, you brought up one in terms of could we use, but we need to have that language in time for you to put together the resolution, or no?
No,
just for
the resolution would be more generic. The actual contract for the allocation of money is more specific.
Okay, so I'd definitely say we would need that in order to move forward. And then, Mr. Bucco,
So those terms will be in the contract.
Contract, yes.
So we could move forward tonight.
Yeah, I know, I understand that. And Mr. Bucco has generously said that we can put in, if it doesn't happen, there'll be clawbacks. He said it, I didn't.
Listen to this.
Can we add to the special meeting?
I'm sorry?
Can we add to the special meeting? That discussion?
Oh. So, Mr. Williams is asking if we could have that discussion about what we want to see into the special meeting about the ARPA. So I'm open to that, but we could definitely move this tonight, but we should have that conversation about what that needs to look like.
The language?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fine. Yeah, I'm fine. If they're-
So
I'm willing to move this.
I'll second it.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, you can go. I know you want to leave, your voice is bothering you, so we're done.
Thank you all, I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
All right, I have one more before there. So discussion on the moratorium and the vape shops.
Yes.
Mr. Toro.
Yes, so this is a follow-up from the moratorium I put through that I asked for in July of 2023. So there's been actually an uptick in shops that have opened within the city, and I get increase in residents' concern about 2, 3, 4 in a neighborhood. So we all know that flavored vapes and smokes are illegal in New York State, and the health department is doing their job with sanitarians that are going into these stores and corner markets, and doing a job as far as the illegal part of it. I'd like to see a moratorium imposed for 6 months so we can continue working on the zoning of where we'd like these shops to be placed. And continue with our codes department to go in and to make sure they're all compliant. Out of the many shops that our code department has visited since July of last year, the smoke and vape shops have not even followed through with any of the compliance, so most of them on our list are still in violation. So I would like to see if we can impose a moratorium for 6 months.
Can you explain again what you said about the health department? I don't see that here in this writing.
No, it's just I've been doing some follow-up with the health department to make sure that, because like I say, flavored smoke and vapes are illegal, menthol and flavored vapes and cigarettes are illegal in New York State. So I followed up with the health department, and they are on their part doing, imposing fines and violations on some of these places where they find them. It's $100 a day for any flavored vape that they find in a store, and it can date back as long as it can be proved with, like, maybe sometimes even $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in fines that are imposed. So
Who gets the money?
County. It's a
county.
Well, it's the Schenectady County Public Health Department.
County Health.
So anyway, so
Maybe our code needs to get in on this.
yeah, that is being done, and I'd like to just see that the moratorium is imposed for 6 months. So again, we can continue working on our zoning and.
So my question first is, do we have a list of the ones, like you said they're doing this, is there a list of the ones in Schenectady that we have? Do we have that?
Oh,
John sent us one.
Yeah, I was gonna call
That were in various stages.
well, we do. I have to apologize because I don't know I forget the head of code now. But I did. Yes.
All right, no, I meant the list from the state. You said the state's going in. Do we have a list from the state of ones they've done in Schenectady?
No, it's the county.
The county health. Do we
No,
have
I
that
do not
list?
have a list of the county ones, because it's a whole separate deal. I mean, that's for them being illegal. They're not illegal to open, they're just not in compliance right now. And they're in different neighborhoods where a lot of the residents are complaining. So I just want to take care of that part for us.
Okay, Mr. Rivera?
No, I was just going to echo that, so I did forward the updated list from the mayor's office, and everybody has a copy of it in terms of where they are, in terms of their
Enforcement.
And I think, I wish it can go faster, but things happen. And I heard that there are also some, in the clerk's office, there's some application in there also. Do we have like a count of how much is that?
So, let me just be clear, the applications in the clerk office are for cannabis licenses and not for smoke shops. If we want to find out any smoke shops that are in the pipeline, that would have to come from the Department of Development. So, in speaking about the cannabis, there was 17 the last time I looked. I don't know what that number has increased.
17 applications for cannabis shops in the city?
Yes. But there's, but they can't just open like that. They have to go through a whole process through the state of New York and all of that. So, and when I looked, only one person actually had a license. They all filled out the paperwork because they're trying to hold their place, but only one person actually had their license from the state of New York in the ones that I looked at. But everybody's trying to hold their place. But keep in mind that that with cannabis, the Office of Cannabis Management already put in some things that you can't, even though we say 17, they can't be within, I think, 1,000 feet of each other and all that. So there are 17 right now applications, so people are anticipating and hoping that they can open cannabis shops. But that's different than the smoke shops, which are currently open.
Is there a limit on the cannabis shops that the state gave us? Oh, well, that's all right.
Okay. All right.
It's that impulse. My Adderall ran out about an hour ago.
Mr. Mancini?
Is there a limit on the amount of cannabis shops that can open?
That's a question actually, I think, for the Office of Cannabis Management. So let me I'm just really quickly up to date. We've been working on zoning. I don't know where it is at this point in time, where they can go. We've had a change in Corporation Council, so I'm not sure where that is right now. But one of the reasons we didn't do the moratorium before is we were moving ahead with enforcement, and we were moving ahead with putting a zoning in place so that we could control that. So at this point in time, the zoning is...
It's not done yet.
Okay, the zoning...
Moratorium has to be in place, and then the zoning will follow behind.
It doesn't have to be, but it could be.
It could be, but
Okay.
but you have to put the moratorium so you can work on the ordinance and then present that while you're...
If you do the zoning afterwards, it becomes a non-conforming use. So you don't have the ability to displace the business absent some financial compensation.
Well, then let me just add, Mr. Williams had his hand up, and then Mr. Mutaren, you have his hand? Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Yes, so I would say the context in which we entered, I think the council electing not to proceed with the moratorium was based on relying on or allowing enforcement to reestablish itself within the city. And I think to Ms. Porterfield's point, since there's been some staffing changes, that process has been disrupted. So I think it is warranted, Mr. Toro, to bring back this item of reevaluating, proceeding with the moratorium. And I think that, again, to your point, sir, it allows us the opportunity to reevaluate and allows our Corporation Council to get herself acclimated with our zoning. So I think we left off with corridors. But again, until that framework, until that wording is established, we are then allowing any business to function at will. So I think I would support the moratorium.
Mr. Mutaren.
Yeah, going through this legislation here, the legislative request, and the proposal is for 6 months. Is that too much of time to pick up where stopped off and just move forward in terms of continue where the previous Corporation Council left off? Would 3 months be enough to get that sorted out and back to us for approval?
We can try. We have to draft the legislation and it has to come before council, and there may be amendments, so it may take more than 3 months.
Go ahead, Mr. Mutaren.
More than 3 months? But is there something already draft?
Yes.
Yeah, we do have. I think we do have a draft.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I think 3 months is adequate because there's a draft. You just need to come back to us. We'll review and get back to you with any changes and then move forward in a couple cycles. So within a month time, we can roll that for 6 weeks.
I think Mr. Toro had her hand up.
So
I-
you're not finished, I'm sorry.
And the other legal part, can we put on hold all the application?
Right.
For the certificates of use?
Yes.
We can put on hold for the vape shops and everything was here.
So everything that was filed, we just stop the clock?
Well, even if it's already been filed?
Yes.
If it's already on file, I would
Have to look at each one, what the status is, whether there might be some way to administratively hold, or whether we be acting in an arbitrary or capricious manner.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to address that, because in
It
this
specifically asked for that.
recommendation here, it did ask for that, to hold all applications.
Yes, it specifically said, no new applications, but no previously submitted applications shall be accepted or even processed. So even though we've already submitted the applications and we've accepted them, you're asking that they not be processed. Is that what you're
That's what I was asking.
I just want to make sure that's the ask.
So just follow on a legal standpoint, I don't think we can do that. But if you can just
I would have to take a look
follow
and
up
get
and
back to you.
get back to us on that. You know, I think we already have the draft. 3 months is the time for us to get it back on the burner and let's move forward with it. I'm in favor of us holding it for 3 months.
And along with that, if 3 months isn't, we can always extend it.
That's correct.
If we don't get there in 3 months. Mr. Mantini, was your hand up? You just moving around?
Mr. Toro.
Mr. Toro?
Yes, so I would still like to push for the 6 months, only because we did, most of us did meet with development, and kind of I put an overlay on where we would like to these shops developed with 17 cannabis applications. I do
That's separate and apart.
I know it is, but I'm going to speak on that for one moment. Thank you. With 17 cannabis applications, it seems as though, and I've done some research where these smoke and vape shops kind of hover around. If we just look on Upper Union Street, there's 4, and then one up a little further in Niskayuna. So I would just like, again, for us to take our time and consider where we want these smoke and vape shops to be popping up. So again, I would like to just push for the 6 months. And
Corporation Council has a...
Yes, you have something?
So yeah, we were saying that we can bring the draft to you for the next legislative cycle so that you can review it.
That's for the moratorium.
Yes.
For the moratorium, and then we can go forward.
Start reviewing the zoning.
All right. Ms. Patrick, you had your hand up?
I think there's a lot here, and so I would want to stick with the 6 months as well. I mean, I don't know if others are hearing the same numbers of complaints, but I definitely regularly hear complaints about the numbers of smoke shops and vape shops that are popping up. So I think the 6 months is reasonable, actually. But I do support this. Hear what other people want to say, but I would like to stick with the 6 months as well. It just seems like there's a lot that we have to do. But I don't know.
Well, I would say that I would prefer to go with the 3 months, and if we need an extension, do it, because we already had we've been working on this for some time. There was a lot of work done. We went to meet. So there's a lot of work that Corporation Council is not going to have to do because it's already been done. We already gave our input, with the exception, of course, of our newest council member. So, and again, if we go 3 months and we're able to make that deadline, which I would hope that we could work through that and get that done, then if we're not there, then we have an opportunity for an extension. I'm sorry, Mr. Midvera?
Yeah, and the draft is already in place. Even the overlay, the map, the draft of the legislation is already in place. It just needs to pick up the speed that we're left off and kind of put it together and bring it back to us, which is kind of in agreement here in terms of that. And 3 months is good. I mean, in the past, I didn't support it because there was an enforcement, code enforcement, but we had change in staffing. So I kind of stand on the fence and says, well, I'm not supporting it at this point in time, because we need to give both departments time to bring it back to us with updated narratives.
And so we do need to clarify whether or not it's we can legally stop the applications that are in process.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you all.
Okay, so, and will that be clarified then in the resolution whether, because if we can't, then it won't be a part of that. Or could you just clarify with the council, just, you could send it to Ms. Maipu and she'll send it out to all of us, whether or not that can even be a part of the the resolution that we put forward?
Absolutely.
Are there other questions, concerns? Okay, so at this point in time, go ahead.
We'll move for 3 months, moratorium for 3 months.
Contingent upon our ability for applications, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 3 months. Okay, we did that. So the last 4 items on the agenda are all property sales, which have to be done in executive session. So all members of the public will have to leave.